Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we have a very exciting video for you. We're going to be showing you the big 6 teams in England, so Man United, Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, and suggesting just one sign that they need to make if they really want to elevate their game ready for next year. But before we jump into this, if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit like, turn on notifications and comment down below what you think of my suggestions and if you think I've missed anyone massive that needs to sign for one of these big 6 teams. So the first team is Manchester United, as you can see here, and for them it's a really interesting one. We've got a potential DM, a winger they could do with, maybe some backup in other places as well, but I've decided to go for a centre back instead to go alongside, hopefully, a fit Lisandro Martinez. And for me, that man is Jean-Claire Todibo. He is absolutely fantastic. Obviously playing in the French league at the minute, is French himself, so kind of just a complete Varane replacement is my idea here. An average rating this year of 7.09, which is very impressive from centre back. And just one more stat to tell you, he averages 1.3 and 1.8 interceptions and tackles every 90 minutes. And if you compare that to Manchester United's first choice right centre back Varane, he averages less than 1 in both of those departments. So it would show a real improvement to that back four, really solidify it, because they've looked really shaky at points, loads of injuries this year. I think it could be time for Varane to leave, maybe to Saudi or something, but we're going to do that in a separate video. We're going to do a one player that needs to leave every club, but for now it's just the signings, and I think Todibo would fit that back four perfectly, really solidify it. Anana's been in really good form since the AFCON time, really, so adding a bit more solidarity to that defence, I think it can only be a positive for them. And I think his centre-back is by far the most important position for them, considering how much they've struggled this year. And he's not going to break the bank either. 38 million euros is honestly, in today's market, not that much. But when you add United tax, you're probably looking at around £50 million, which I don't think is that bad at all. A player that could be playing for you for about 8-9 years if he's good enough. He's only about 24 years old. Him and Lisandro Martinez together could be a really solid partnership. I think this is one that United really need to have a look at. And the next team is Chelsea. Now this one's a bit of a shambles. They could have gone for basically anywhere on the pitch and upgraded there. But I've decided to go for keeper. And for that keeper, I've gone Diogo Costa. So basically, I think the keeper needs improvement. Robert Sanchez as a first choice is not good enough if you want to be a top 6 team. I think he's a backup keeper for that level of team, if I'm being honest. And on top of that, they've had so many injuries this year that they're currently using their third choice keeper as their starter, which just you can't get away with if you're wanting to get a top 6, top 5, top 4, whatever their aims are. I don't think it includes Robert Sanchez as your first choice goalkeeper. And Diogo Costa could be the perfect replacement. He's had so much hype around him for so long now. Is it finally time that we get to see him in the Premier League? I think it really could be. He's got an average rating this year of 7, and goals prevented, this is the big one. He's prevented 2.2 goals, whereas Robert Sanchez, Chelsea's first choice keeper, has prevented minus 0.2. Sanchez is letting in more goals than he should, and Costa is stopping more goals than he should. At the end of the day, it's as simple as that. A keeper is there to stop goals, and Diogo Costa does it better, simply, than Robert Sanchez. But Diogo Costa is also really good with his feet, so he's perfect for a modern day keeper. I think it's finally time for him to come over to England and show us what he's about. But he's going to cost you around 50 million euros, so it's whether Chelsea can actually spend that much on a keeper without getting in trouble with FFP and stuff. So if they did it a few years back with Kepa, I'm not sure if you can spend that much on a keeper in that many years when there's other positions that need improving as well. But it would be a great signing for them if they manage to pull it off. And the next team is really difficult. Manchester City. What do you buy for someone that has everything? It's one of them. Manchester City have about 2 or 3 players in every position that would walk into most teams in the Premier League. So it's really tough. But I noted out that their right wing, they don't have just he's a guaranteed starting right wing, which they don't need because they have people like Bernardo Silva, Foden. They have so many people that can play there. But I feel like signing a young right winger that can do the typical Pep thing, you play them for about 20 minutes every other game, slowly introduce them, and then the following season they then become a starter. I think that's perfect. And for that man, I've got Rooney Bargy. He's an absolute baller. If you play Football Manager, if you play FIFA, you'll know about him already. But he looks very exciting. Obviously, still only 18 years old. That's the most important thing to remember. A very traditional right winger with an average rating of 6.99 for an 18-year-old is very impressive. He's also got 7 goals in 16 starts. And maybe the most important thing is, as an 18-year-old, he's already got Champions League experience. Obviously, being in the group with Bayern Munich and Manchester United this Champions League season is going to prove crucial. And more importantly, He's worth 9.3 million euros. So it's not going to break their bank at all. It's a young, cheap signing that you can put under Pep's arms. Let him develop him. Let him get him some minutes in the cup, a few in the league as well. And then the following seasons when he's going to really start breaking out. I feel like a signing like this is perfect for the place that Man City are in at the minute. Keep adding some good depth to the squad and you'll win league titles easily. And Rooney Bargi could be an absolute superstar for them in a couple years' time. Now, the next team wasn't much easier, to be fairness. It's Tottenham Hotspur. So this one's a bit interesting because they've kind of spent a lot of money on a striker recently, Richarlison, and he's a bit hit or miss. Some fans will really want him to be their starting number 9. Some fans would rather someone else. But the issue is, spending that much on a striker, you can't really do that back-to-back years. The defence, I think, is really solid. Porro, Van de Ven, Romero, and Udogie is a really, really good back four. Obviously, it could be depth, but I'm not trying to just put people for depth unless it's Man City. So we're looking for someone that could walk into the starting 11 here, really. And I think it could be that midfield area. And for that reason, I've gone for Eze, the absolute baller. He's got an average rating this season of a 7.4. That's the highest by far that we've touched so far. And he's doing it in the Premier League, which is absolutely crazy. He's got 8 goals, 3 assists. And for Tottenham, he could play a very interesting role. You could almost see him play out wide on the right, like sometimes Bruno Fernandes does for Manchester United, or Mason Mount's done in the past, or even Maddison's done it. He could do that wide role, and it takes a bit of pressure away from Maddison to be the sole provider and creator of the team. Because I feel like you could have done maybe a DM and put Bentancur next to imaginary player and Maddison. But I think Eze helps them that bit more in attack. He's a good blend between midfielder, but can also do a wide role. I think he could be absolutely perfect. He is probably going to cost them about £50 million, I would expect. But with how good Eze is, I think it's finally time he gets his big 6 move. And I think it's perfect for Tottenham. Perfect this season. Just make it happen. I want to see Eze playing at the highest level possible. So let's make sure this one happens. Now, we have Arsenal. Obviously, they could still win the Premier League this year. So we could be signing someone for a Premier League winning team here. And I think they need a striker, if I'm being honest. I think they need a striker that can come in and potentially be a star for them. So I think they're missing that world-class player from the striker position. But I don't think they're going to be going and spending 100+ million on Osimhen. So I've gone for a bit more undercover one. And that is Gyökeres, or however you pronounce it. He was at Coventry the last season, at Sporting now, and his numbers are unbelievable. He's dropped a 7.5 average rating in the league with 26 goals and 10 assists in just 30 games. And more impressively, he scored those 26 goals from just a 19 XG. And you might be thinking, okay, that's fine. That's just the Portuguese league. That's fine. We can look into those, which is fair enough. But in the Europa League, he's got 5 goals, 2 assists and 8 starts as well. So it shows he can do it at a bit of a higher level. He's done it against Atalanta, who literally just knocked out Liverpool. I think he could be a perfect signing. And more importantly, his value is only 50 million euros. So you could be looking at signing for 50 million pounds. And at the end of the day, that's half the price of an Osimhen. But he could offer you just as much. And the number of assists he's getting would be really promising for an Arsenal fan. Because that means he can get involved in the link-up play, but he's still a traditional striker, which they sometimes lack with Jesus. Sometimes Jesus, Havertz, whoever's playing up there, drops a little bit too deep. So then when they get the ball out wide, there's no one really hovering around the 6-yard box. That's sometimes where they benefit from Nketiah, but I don't think Nketiah is quite good enough. So I think Victor Gyökeres is the perfect man to lead Arsenal to maybe a title next season. Now, the last team is Liverpool. And this, I know I said City was the hardest. This may have actually been a slight harder because of the fact they've got a new manager coming in. We don't know what's going to happen. Jurgen Klopp is going. Arne Slot is coming in. Who's he going to sign? What kind of profile of player is it going to be? So I've thought a bit more rational about this one. And I've gone, instead of who did Liverpool need to buy, what teams need to sell a player? So we're looking at teams like Newcastle and Villa that could be in FFP trouble next season if they fail to sell some big names. But we're going to look at Newcastle, and I don't think they're going to sell Isak. So a player they could look at selling is Bruno G. Now, this man would be absolutely perfect in that Liverpool midfield. He would be the most defensive out of the 3 and would be so solid for them. An average rating this season of a 7.27. People just come to expect that of him now. Newcastle need to sell people, and he could be the perfect one to sell. It's a great trade for both teams to get good money for him. He could sit with McAllister and Szoboszlai in front of him, with Gravenberch as well getting involved, Harvey Elliott involved, it could be very good. He's also got 5 goals, 6 assists this season, which is very underrated from a player that plays the most defensive role out of the three in midfield. But this is where the issue comes. He is valued at 88 million euros, which is good for Newcastle because they're going to be looking at about 70-80 million pounds if they manage to sell him. But are the board at Liverpool going to give a new manager 80 million pounds to spend on a centre mid? But that is it now done. Let me know down below, who would you sign for the top 6 teams? Do you agree with me on any? Do you disagree with me on all of them? Let me know down below. And if you did enjoy this video, you may enjoy me grading every team's Premier League season so far. So watch that video right here. It's just there. Click on it right now. But if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.